You ever seen a ghost? Been abducted? Heard your name whispered from the other room when you're all alone? No, you say? Me either. But if you're like me, you're still fascinated by the paranormal. It seems everyone else has had an experience, and you want to believe it all. So why doesn't it happen to us? What does it all mean? How does it work? Is any of it real? Welcome to Paranorm Girl, a show that will attempt to answer these questions by taking the paranormal completely apart in search of proof. I'm not a blind believer, nor a hardened skeptic. I'm just looking for answers and willing to accept what I find. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Paranorm Girl podcast. I am your host, Kristen. So, I recently had the pleasure of sitting down for a conversation with one of the founding members of Lost Souls Paranormal Detectives out of Knoxville, Mr. Jason Fife. I had a great time chatting with him. He is sincerely a very nice, genuine human being working toward answers to the paranormal for all of the right reasons. Our time went by so quickly, and I feel like we only but scratched the surface with his experiences. So I look forward to having him back on the show in the future to pick up where we left off. We did run into some technical issues with the connection that we have since rectified, thankfully. Technical issues on a podcast, I know, right? Jason was oh so patient and a real trooper, so thanks to him for being so cool about it. Not going to keep you guys from it. He's got some really great experiences to tell. Please enjoy my conversation with paranormal investigator Jason Fife. All right, you guys, I am so excited to bring on my guest. He has had the ability to see and hear spirits since childhood, and now he works as an investigator with Lost Souls Paranormal Detectives out of Knoxville, Tennessee. He's been involved in over 100 paranormal cases. You best believe I cannot wait to get into some of those experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Fife.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for coming on today and having a little, conversation with me. You are my first paranormal investigator on the show, so this is exciting.
That is really cool. That's really cool.
So, one thing I did leave out of your bio because, quite honestly, I needed the reason to bring it up now because I feel like there might be a story behind it. Why do people call you Hollywood?
Well, it's kind of weird because I never, it seems like I never meet a stranger, and it's kind of like a family thing. I've Every time I go out somewhere, I'm just like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how's it going? I don't know. I've always had that persona, I guess. Like it's me, so I don't try to put on a front or anything. And when I started working at the place I'm at, where I'm working now, it was really strange because it's like I still talk to everybody, even at work, and it's just constant. I walk around, hey, how's it going? You doing all right today? Da, da, da. So one of the guys just started calling me Hollywood, and it just stuck. He's like, because you don't meet, you're always out and doing stuff, and you're always meeting new people. So that's it just kind of stuck that way.
Okay. You know what? It's not a bad nickname to have. Some people call me Hollywood since I moved to Louisiana, from from California, and it's not necessarily in a nice way. Okay. So let's just jump right in. I have so much to ask you. I thought maybe we could just start with your group, Lost Souls Paranormal Detectives. So
yes,
let's talk about that. That's a cool name. Who came up with that?
It's really a very plain story. I hate to say there's like nothing exciting, but actually my best friend and I, Craig Hoffman, he's the other co-founder. We started this back in 2007, and oddly enough, we were standing outside at his house in the driveway, and we were talking and doing stuff, and he just retired from the Navy and moved back home, and we were sitting there talking and stuff, and we started talking about ghosts and aliens and UFOs and different things, and I was like, well, because Craig already knew my background in history, so I was like, why don't we start into the paranormal field. And he's complete opposite that I am. He has gifts, but he doesn't use them. He's more skeptical. He's more logical of the group. Very, very um, keeps me on track, basically,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So it was just a basic standing outside talking, and like, hey, let's start doing this, and that's how it started.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask you like why you initially started the group to so that's
Mhm.
I love that. Well, what types of hey, you know what? You got to start somewhere. There's all kinds of origin stories. Um,
Exactly.
what types of phenomena or like locations does your group generally investigate?
We do, and I hate to say this, but like pre-pandemic,
Yeah. Okay.
um, we used to do a lot of residential and a few businesses, mostly residential. And we do go to some of the places like that are on the map for like haunted locations, like Old South Pittsburgh Hospital and Hills Bar Dam and places like that. We do go into to tour those, and especially Brushy, but we do go and tour those and stuff. But that's never been our main focus. Ours has always been kind of mainly residential and commercial.
Okay. And do people generally approach you to ask you to, hey, come take a look, something's going on in my house? Do you guys
It
advertise?
it's very weird. We set out when we were talking about this that we were going to be our thing was kind of going to be we're going to be the people you call when you called everybody else.
Okay, who you gonna call? Uh-huh.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of because we both grew up in the 80s. We both it was that sort of mentality. That we started with, and um, we didn't really advertise it at first because where Knoxville is, we're right in the middle of the Bible Belt. So there's a church on every corner. Um, and when we started doing this, people were looking at us like we were crazy, you know, literally.
Yeah. It's a little more accepted nowadays, I think. Yeah,
Yes.
just in general
Yes.
than it was. I know. I grew up in the 80s too. Um, well, it's interesting you said that, pre-pandemic versus
Yes.
now, because I was just recently reading an article in, I think it was the New York Times, actually. They were reporting that some paranormal investigators were saying that they have been receiving more requests than usual during the pandemic. So that has not been your experience as well?
It's it's been kind of like 50-50. We've got emails and stuff like that, but it's been really consistent. I think a lot of people during the pandemic, especially being stuck at home, um, found out that their house wasn't what it normally is, you know, on their daily life, I guess. Um, but we've got a lot of emails and stuff to people saying, hey, I've been home for like 2 weeks, and there's some strange things going on here.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot more of those than actually for us to come out.
Okay, okay. And that was actually one of the theories they were talking about in the article is that, now that people are or were, at the height of the pandemic, home more often and could actually be aware of what was going on in their own house,
Right.
that they were noticing it. Yeah.
Yes.
So Lost Souls was founded in 2007, you said.
Yes.
So it's been around for a while. What were you were not doing investigating prior to that, right?
No, no. I had for myself, I had always, especially growing up here in East Tennessee,
Mhm.
um, I was brought up very religious, Baptist.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I mean, it was church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. I mean, it was very, very, I don't want to say strict, but that's just what we did.
Right.
Um, as I got older, um, I always had growing up. I always saw and heard things I couldn't really understand. So being in church and stuff, I couldn't really talk to anybody about it. because it was, basically kind of like, no, you don't really, that's not really there.
I see. So
If that
safe
makes
to say,
sense.
yeah. So you did not. Do you feel like you did not have a support
No,
system at the time?
no, no. It didn't happen until I got a little older.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I've had that exact discussion numerous times. Actually, once my last conversation on this show, I had that same discussion. These poor children growing up and they're seeing things, they're hearing things that they don't know how to explain it. Nobody else is explaining it to them, and other than no, you're not seeing that. No, you're not hearing that. That's hard.
Thankfully for me, I wasn't, taking to the doctor and saying, "Hey, you've got ADHD, you've got this, you've got that, here's some medicine, da da da, whatever." And thankfully that didn't happen for me personally. But I am kind of, I don't even know how to say it honestly, because I kind of see that in kids, a lot. They, especially on like some of the TV shows and stuff, that they have out now, and it's like I'm sitting there kind of looking at them going, "That's kind of me when I was that age," you
Right.
know.
Right.
Uh, I wasn't crazy. I saw what I saw. I heard what I heard. It wasn't,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so I do want to spend a little time talking about your personal experiences. There's some really very intriguing stuff going on there. Before we switch gears, just one more one more question, maybe two more questions about your work that you do. So
yes.
I am curious what your guys' investigation looks like. So just walk me through real quick from start to finish. Are you guys doing a lot of research, heading up to the investigation? What kind of equipment are you bringing? Are there people in tow? What does it look like?
We get an email or a phone call. It's normally it's I'll either talk to the person or Craig will talk to the person, and then we switch because we're both pretty good about kind of weeding out what we need to know on investigations. As far as the client, when it comes to the client, after we've talked and we've discussed that, hey, we probably need to go out. We take very basic equipment. We're talking just regular digital cameras. We've got a DVR system. It's very basic.
Mm.
Digital recorders. We've got like a laser grid. I mean, we don't have a whole lot that we take out when we go.
Okay, so what's the coolest location you've ever been to?
Um, there's two. I have one of my favorite locations, and then I have one of my worst locations. I'll never go back to.
I want to hear
Um,
both. Go ahead.
um, the
Drama. No.
yes, basically, yeah. My favorite location is probably going to Brushy Mountain. It's about an hour from my house and about 20 minutes from where I work. That's probably the most fascinating place because I had an acquaintance, a friend of mine and my brother's that actually spent time there
Mm.
in Brushy Mountain. We didn't know him then; we knew him later on in life. But the thing about it is when we went back and we did an overnight, that was crazy there.
Oh yeah.
And then a, a year later, I got validation. So to me, that was very, very insane.
Okay. Well, like
Um,
what kind of occurrences?
Basically, when he was locked up there. I mean, because I don't know if you know the history on Brushy Mountain
I don't. I've never heard of
Penitentiary.
it.
It is it's very I don't know how to explain it. It's surrounded by three mountains, and you basically have a prison surrounded by mountains. So there's basically no escape. But um, James Earl Ray was there back when a bunch of stuff was going on. It actually had him there, and he actually escaped
Oh, wow.
from there. He was caught on the grounds, but he actually escaped. My friend that was there would just tell us stories, just crazy, crazy stories about prison life because even when he was there in the 80s, um, they still kept everything segregated. So you had different tiers. So he said it was very different, and that was a thing for him. But later on, and being able to go back and the our friend is passed now, but going back and looking at the stuff that he was talking about was even crazier, especially as a paranormal investigator, because he was like, he would tell stories. Well, this happened in here, this there, da da da,
Yeah.
and we go walk around and stuff. And I was sitting there going back listening to his to what he was saying, but we didn't overnight there. It was the overnight was crazy there. And then along with that story, a year later, I was on an investigation with some friends of mine, and one of the ladies sitting there, she looked at me. She's like, "Can I talk to you for a second?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "You've had someone following you around for a while," and I said, "I know." I didn't really think nothing about it, and she told me everything about our friend that was locked up in the prison and that had passed away and all that. And that's the first person that had ever mentioned his name in probably 7 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I mean, she was telling me stuff that you know he said he just and because I would see him from time to time, and not really think nothing about it. I figured he was coming to visit or whatever. And she was telling me, she's like, well, he just wanted to apologize because he wasn't a very a very good person in life. But in death, he wanted to make amends with everybody that he thought he had you know been bad to.
Right.
And
Right.
when she said his name, I just like stood there. And as a paranormal investigator, as an empath, as that still freaks you out. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
you're like going, okay, I don't know you at all, but now you're telling me stuff. You know, and that was a very very kind of a close chapter on my life a little bit for that. But I was talking to her and I told him too because I could see him, and I was like, every time we go back to Brushy, I'd really like you to go with us because it's kind of like having your own personal tour guide.
Yeah.
That's not there,
Yeah. Yeah.
that will protect us while we're there because that is such an active place and so many bad things went on there that it's almost like you need that sort of otherworldly protection when you go. And not to mention the thousands and thousands of people that go in and out of there every day
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's got to
with
be.
the tourism and stuff. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So all their energies and this and that and yeah, it's wild.
Man, yeah, yeah. Prisons are, places like that are just notorious. Just so much energy, so much history, and I don't want to say it's all bad, all negative, but it's certainly a part of it. So, well, on the you did mention that you are an empath. You've had experiences with paranormal throughout your life, as I understand,
Yes.
and yeah, you did tell me you were an empath before, but from the sounds of it, you're seeing and hearing spirits. Are you? What's the hesitation calling yourself a medium?
I've never felt like I could do that, I guess.
Oh, okay.
It's more of a it's hard for me to explain honestly. I guess I sort of have some of those gifts, I guess, but that it's sort of like the empath is more of my path, and I've thought about that a lot too. Doing what we do, and that's a thing of I get feelings off of people
Right.
a lot. So it's like that constant guard, that constant, you know, all the time. Grocery store, going to Walmart, going to mall, going whatever where people are at. And
Mm-hmm.
being empathic is kind of like, you know, I walk by people and I'm just like, man, even if it's one person or a bunch of people, I'm like, he's not doing well today, or she's not, something's going on with her, or whatever. And they may look completely normal going about their day, but it's almost like the vibes they give off are crazy. And there's really no way to to kind of turn that down.
That's what I hear with these gifts and these abilities that, if you got it, if you were born with it, it's just kind of, it's something innate inside of you, and it's not really, much you can do to turn it off. I guess you could work with it if it was really bothersome or traumatic for you. But yeah, I was curious too. Like, do you find that having that sensitivity to the spirit world helps or hinders you when you're trying to do an investigation? You got to get all those facts and the data. Does it help you?
I think it does help quite a bit, but you have to learn to separate the spiritual world and the living, and that's something I've had to learn over the years. And that can cause some problems because Craig and I've been on investigations before, and it's gotten really bad. And I was like, okay, I need to go outside.
Oh, like overwhelming.
And yeah, and it's just like, and it's not from the spirits that are there; it's from everything. So it's from the clients that are there. It's from the spirits. It's from my own. It's from me. So kind of have to go outside and like, okay, I need to differentiate this. I need to start putting these in blocks so I can figure out, what's going on. Because I hate to say this, and I don't know if anybody else will ever say it on any one of your shows or not, but the client will never tell you the full truth.
Oh, interesting. No, I've no, nobody's ever said that. Can you
And that's a lot for, and even if the young or the people getting into paranormal that haven't been into it for a long time, the clients they will never give you the complete facts the first time, second time, or third time you talk to them. I'll give you a quick example. We had an investigation. We went out to the house. We met the husband, and it involved a child. It was a man, a woman, and their daughter, and it involved their child, and the child was seeing and hearing things. So we were like, okay, emergency. We get out there. Do what we need to do because there is a child involved. So we go out to the house. And we have a questionnaire, 30 questions, and we give it if there's like say the husband and wife, we gave them each one. So could y'all fill this out for us and go before we start the investigation? And there's some pretty crazy questions on there. I mean, it gets really deep. Like, are you on any kind of medication, any kind of you know, um, any kind of anything that would cloud your judgment? Have you ever had paranormal experiences yourself? I mean, there's this, a random mix of questions. So we're sitting there and they're going through it. And now we've talked to this couple like three times before we actually went to their house. And the gentleman looks up and he goes, um, "Yeah, there's because I was in prison for a long time, and which now this was unknown to us." And he was like, "I was in prison for a long time, and I really think I brought something with me from prison."
Ooh,
And we're both sitting there going, because the house was heavy, you could feel it. I mean, there was definitely something there, and we're like, "Thanks for letting us know ahead of time."
yeah.
Yeah, because you're not prepared for that unless you prepare for that.
Right, right. It would have been nice to know.
And that's why I tell every paranormal investigator I meet that's just getting into it, is be very cautious because not every paranormal email, text message, or whatever you get is going to be paranormal.
I see. Okay. Well, when did you actually know that you had your abilities?
I was 5 or 6. Um, Now, the interesting part about it is my mom's parents are from Knoxville. My dad's parents are from Kentucky. So growing up, I had kind of the best of both. I had the city life and then I had the country life. Now, the country life was a lot different because on my dad's side of the family, tracing back, nobody ever said it, but I believe we had witches or paranormal practitioners or mediums on that side of my family. But up there, we went to my great grandmother's house, and she was probably in her late 70s then. And this is the same house I had stayed in when I was a baby. Because my mom would tell me the story. They would go visit. They would stay with my great great grandmother. Well, the way the house was laid up, she had a bathroom in her bedroom, but the only other bathroom was upstairs. And being 6 years old, I was terrified. You got to go upstairs by yourself. And when you walk up to the top of the stairs, there was three doors on one side, three doors on the other, bedrooms. And you had to walk down this long hall, and the bathroom was at the very end. So I got top of the stairs, and I was like, I was preparing myself. I was like, you got to run down to the bathroom because something's going to grab you. That's the thing. You're young and you don't pay attention.
Right, right.
So I was like, okay, well, as soon as I started running, I was walking fast, and the first two doors on each side opened up. The next two doors on each side opened up. The three doors on opened up. I went to the bathroom, shut the door, locked it. And this is like the old timey locks that you can look through with like that the skeleton key.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So so I'm in there and I'm like, I do my business, and all of a sudden the handle starts rattling, and I'm like, mom, are you out there, mom? And nobody says anything. And I'm like, okay. And I'm 6 years old. I don't know what's happening, you know. And so I look out the keyhole and there's a man standing there in like period dress from like the 30s, just standing there. And I'm like, this is not good. I said, he's not from here, you
Wow.
know. And so I look back again, he's gone. And I'm like, okay. So I get the courage up, open the door. Well, I'm like, why are all the bedroom doors shut back? They were just open when I was walking through here. They were opening up, and I'm like, this is very weird. And so I shut the bathroom door. I'm walking down the hall, and I hear my name. Now, mind you, everybody else is downstairs, and like, I can't hear them.
Right.
They can't hear me. So I get halfway down the hall, and I feel this hand on my shoulder, and I literally can't. I came unglued.
Yeah, I'm getting chills thinking about it.
And I turn and I see this lady and this man standing there. And they're talking to me like as if they knew me. And they're looking at me as if they knew me. And I'm going, this is crazy. And so I make it down to the very end of the hallway. And I turn and look and they're standing there with their arm. The man has his arm around her. And they're just standing there like watching me. They're sad that I'm leaving. And I
Huh.
feel this from them. I feel this sadness. This like they want me to stay. They want me to stay a few minutes longer,
Yeah.
visit or whatever. So I get downstairs and I'm like sitting there and I'm freaking out, but I can't tell anybody. I'm 6 years old, who's gonna they're just gonna look at me and go, okay, whatever. And years go by, so finally I get the courage up and I asked my mom, I said, Mom, I had this experience. My mom was always she was very, very religious woman, very Christian. But when it came to me, she would answer every question I had with spirituality. And I was telling her about this experience that I had. And she was like, okay, Jason, when you were little, we would stay up there. And I'm like, okay. She goes, we would put you in the crib and they would stay in the bedroom like next door. And she said she would get up two or three times a night thinking I was crying or whatever and go in there and I would be covered up and the rocker in the corner of the room would be moving like someone was watching over me. And to hear this come from my mom was like, holy, cow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Because she's like the most religious person I've ever met. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, right.
and so ever since then, everything just kind of started. It kind of started working its way to when I met Craig and we started doing this in 2007.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
What an incredible story
yeah,
and start to all of this for you.
hmm yeah.
Would you say that's been your most profound experience?
That's one of my top five. That's
Yeah,
that's got that's got to be that's probably my earliest, my youngest experience.
I can certainly see why. Yeah.
But even it was like right after that experience, and come later to find out that was my great like four greats down the line aunt and uncle that used to live in that house. So that was looking back on it now, that was probably one of the most pleasant experiences with the paranormal that I think I've ever had. And that house is still in our family.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
So Yeah, so it's really really neat.
Yeah. Oh man. And I guess I wonder, so since you've had this type of connection to the spirit world your basically your entire life, since you were 6, has your belief in the paranormal in general evolved at all over the course of your life, or do you think you've maintained what learned in those early days?
I think I've maintained it quite a bit, but I have opened myself up to different things.
For example.
Well, it's more of a religious spiritual thing. I mean, I've always felt like I was very 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 spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I never really growing up how I grew up. I never got to experience and see other religions, how how they think about paranormal stuff and how they, is it good? Is it bad? Is it, you know, is that something that's, what's their outtake on it? And it's really opened my eyes up a lot, seeing that and reading about it and watching videos and stuff. Because I hate to say this, but growing up, how I grew up, it was very narrow minded as far as that stuff went.
Right. You mean just coming from your family?
Yes, from my
Okay.
family and experiences growing up. And I think that that played a big part of for me for branching out and looking at different things. And that's something now that I take, and I think I've progressed a lot with the paranormal, because you if you stay in one place, you're just kind of spinning your wheels. And with the paranormal, I feel that we should it should all be kind of the same,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It should all
Yeah.
work towards one goal. If
Mm-hmm.
that's
No, that makes perfect sense, and I love that your evolution with all this was to maintain that grasp on the paranormal, because you do have that connection, and it's undeniable when you get that direct immediate feedback, like
yes.
people with your abilities or sensitivities do and can. But alternately, you have this open-mindedness enough to be like, okay, well, what else is out there, or
Right.
what do all of the religions of the world think or say about this and this and this. They were all created, I guess, to answer those big
Right.
life questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's fantastic and very open-minded of you to be willing to look at all of those, and I guess use whatever you want from them that would be most helpful to you in your journey.
And that's a thing I'll throw this in there real quick, with a paranormal investigator or someone that's in the paranormal. Our minds like never stop. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
It's constant, because you're always trying to get more knowledge. You're always trying to get more. You're always trying to figure it out. And I don't think it'll ever be figured out.
You know what, I hope it is, though, some one of
Yeah.
these days, or maybe I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe deep down we don't, because then if it no longer is paranormal and it is just normal, what are we gonna
Right.
do? What are we supposed to
Exactly.
do?
Exactly.
Well, so we actually have a little bit of time left on the clock. I was hoping, if you are down and open for it, there's something I do at the end of these conversations. I call them the speed round questions. It's like 4 or 5 just real quick questions. They can be directly influenced by what we've talked about or what you're involved in, or they can be very random. And
Okay.
you obviously don't know what these are, because I did
No.
not give them to you or anything.
No
So,
idea.
so yeah,
You're gonna
so
put me in the hot seat. So here we
in the hot seat. It's burning. I feel a little hot in here. So yes, and just the first thing that comes to your mind, just pops into your mind.
Okay.
All right. Number one, what is your favorite piece of equipment that you would use on an investigation, and why?
My favorite investigation tool is baby powder. It's a little old school. It's a little traditional. But that's probably one of my favorites to use.
Yeah, yeah. You get some good results using that.
Yes.
Mm, okay, okay. Yeah, I was able to use that on. I didn't get anything from it, but the one big investigation I did back in California, we used that, and that was a lot of fun to play with. Though. All right, all right. Number two, who is your biggest inspiration in the field of paranormal research?
I would have to say I have two. I have, of course, Craig Hoffner, my best friend. He's very, because like I said, without him doing what I do, I'd be a mess. So, I'm very, very thankful of that. And then I have to say, my girlfriend, Tamonica Codd, is very supportive. So, I mean, that just I couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah, yeah, kind of, and they both inspire you to continue on in your
Yes.
work. That's wonderful. All right. Number three, paranormal or not, what is something that scares you that might not be that scary to others?
Clowns kind of freak me out a little bit. Um, I'm not like scared of them. My philosophy, my philosophy has always been that's a person that paints their face that portrays to be someone else to make you laugh. But and I think that really goes back to the whole John Wayne Gacy stuff, and
Oh, wow,
that's
yeah.
still a whole. That's probably like another show, but but that's a yeah. Clowns kind of freak me out a little
Oh, they're
bit.
super creepy. They are. There's a gosh, I wish I could remember it, but when there's an actual phobia for
Yeah,
clowns.
yeah.
Yeah, no, they're creepy. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Number four. This is one of my favorite questions to ask. I've asked it on every conversation episode that I've ever had because I just really enjoy the answers so much. If you died and became a ghost, who would you haunt to scare? And who would you haunt because you just didn't want to leave them?
Um, I would say that's a tough one. Probably, and I know when he hears this, he's probably gonna laugh, but I probably haunt Craig the most, probably.
Because he
Um,
is a skeptic.
yeah, it wouldn't be like I would just move stuff around on him so it'd like freak him out, lose his car keys or whatever, just to do things. And I think that would be yeah, that's one person I would definitely come back and be very mischievous. Um, just because it would be fun, and then
Yeah, yeah. Hey, you got to keep busy in the afterlife, you know?
exactly. Probably the people, probably my family, is who I'd like to come back and and check on and stuff a lot.
Yeah.
When I'm gone, I've got nieces and nephews, and I would like to see what it would be like, 50 years from now, what they're doing and what they're into, and see how their lives turned out. You know,
Oh, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? And to see how maybe, because everything leads into something else, and maybe you did something in this lifetime that ultimately led to, someone's success 50, 100 years down the road. That would be so neat to see.
it would.
All right, final question. If there is one piece of advice or something of inspiration you could give to others coming up the ladder behind you, what would that be?
I would say ask for help. Um, don't be afraid to reach out to someone that has been doing it longer than you that could maybe give you advice or guidance. It will help you better your career into the paranormal. That's a big thing right now. We have a lot of paranormal investigators out in the community and in the world um, that are just starting out, and I was once like them too, and I think it's good that they think that they just go to these places and not be protected, not be ready, and do this stuff,
Yeah.
and then they might get attachments or something with them to take home, and then it just continues, and I think that's kind of what we need right now is getting advice or taking advice from other people that's done this, and I still do it to this day.
Oh, I love that. So be open to advice and don't be afraid to ask for help. And that's just good That's good advice in general for life. Absolutely. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun.
It has been.
You are just so pleasant and lovely to talk to. So thank you for coming on the show. And where can people find out more about you and more about Lost Souls Paranormal Detectives?
You can reach us on Facebook at the Lost Souls Paranormal Detectives. It's all one word. So when you do search it, it'll have our logo on there. You can contact us through there, or you can contact us through the Knoxville Paranormal Society on Facebook as well. Or you can look me up and send me a direct message. That's fine too.
Just your private Facebook.
Just my private Facebook page. And we it's kind of weird because people are all the time asking us, you don't have a website, you don't have this, that. And I'm like, what kind of old school we do this? It's like people just know how to find us, and that's kind of what we go on. So you want to get with us, talk with us. Like I said, we'd be more than happy to talk with you about anything paranormal. Anything like that. Just shoot us a message, and I can talk about it for hours. So it's not. Don't be afraid. Just to type a question and hit send, or send us an email, because that's what we do. I mean, that's kind of um, our outlet. We all have our daily lives that we go and do, and then with the paranormal, for us, that's just important, just as important.
Sure. Yeah. All right. And that email one more time if people want to reach out.
It is jason575 at gmail.
All right, Jason575 at Gmail, or reach him on Facebook, folks. That is going to do it for today. Thank you again, Jason.
Thank you for having us on there. We really appreciate it, and it's an honor.
All right, that is going to do it for today's episode. Please do check out Lost Souls Paranormal Detectives over on Facebook. And if you are up in that neck of the woods and need someone to come out and take a look at your ghostly situation, who are you going to call? You're going to call Jason and Craig, Lost Souls Paranormal Detectives. That's who. If you enjoyed this conversation and would like to be considered to take part in one with me, you know where to reach me at Paranorm Girl Pod on any of the socials, paranormgirlpod@gmail.com if you prefer to email. Tune in next week. We're moving on to our next lesson for the season, all about the true story behind The Exorcist, and explore how or why this phenomenon can affect even the most vulnerable among us. All for today, folks. We will see you next time. Until then, stay safe, keep the nightlight on, and sleep with one eye open.